Today we're playing Hamlet, the village building game, solo. If you want to know how to play this solo, I have a separate video for that. Here we're just jumping straight into it. We go first and I visit the quarry to earn 2 gold. Botric visits the market and earns 2 points. Next we collect our second worker and pick up the flour mill. Botric completes another market trade for 2 points. So we visit the quarry and woodcutters to get 4 gold. Botric produces some wheat at the farm for 1 point. We build the flour mill, earning us 4 points, and we go to the quarry to earn 2 gold, putting us 1 away from our next worker. Botric picks up his second worker in the sawmill, but we get to the woodcutter to earn 2 gold and then buy our third worker, giving us a great advantage now, along with the stonemason. Botric builds the first part of the church, earning 6 points, and then picks up the small mountain range. I visit the woodcutter and farm to earn 4 gold, and then build a bridge to the flour mill. Botric creates some flour at my mill, then visits the quarry to earn a point. We build the stonemason next to the quarry, earning 4 points, and then we visit the woodcutter and farm to fully stock up on all goods, and give us 4 gold, which means we can now afford our last worker. Botric builds the sawmill and then they claim the small woodland. We still have no dairy farm though in the blueprints. We visit the quarry and farm to earn 4 gold. We can buy not just our last worker, but we also buy another donkey who goes to the market to give us access to their sawmill along with the trading post. Botric, who will be getting a third worker next round, builds the small mountain range for 3 points and then crafts some planks. I visit the market to sell his planks, earning 1 point and 2 gold, but he ends up earning 4 points. I then buy another donkey and put them near the quarry, along with picking up the farrier. I then build a bridge to the stonemason and craft some bricks. Botric sells my bricks at the market and then buys his third worker, along with finally picking up the dairy farm. I craft more bricks, which I then sell to the market along with his flour for 5 points and 3 gold. He got 2 points, I then created some flour and wood for 2 gold. Botric goes to the quarry for 1 point, picks up the pond and then builds the small woodland. The first thing I do is create some planks. I then visit the church and with 5 gold I buy a third resource to complete the second part of the church. I then build the trading post and I buy a donkey who goes up by the stonemason along with me picking up a barn. Botric crafts some planks, visited the woodcutter for 1 point and lastly built a path to their woods. I crafted some flour, sold the flour and planks at the market, harvested wheat at the farm, and then built the barn by the stonemason, which should help with victory points. Botric finally builds his dairy farm, then he claims the shrine, and lastly crafts some planks. I visit the barn, craft some stone for 2 victory points. I use that to then make bricks. I then visit the woods to earn 2 gold, and lastly buy a donkey that goes into the woods and the outpost. Botric goes to the quarry, builds a road to his dairy farm, and then creates some milk. I create some flour, I then sell the flour and milk at the market. I then create some wheat at the barn for 2 victory points, and use it straight away to create some milk. Yes, they would build at the church, but it's fine. As we're officially near endgame now, they use my materials to build the church, they get their last worker along with the large woodland, and visit the farm. So I buy the stables from the blueprint market. I craft some stone at the barn, use that stone to make bricks, and then craft another stone. Botric builds the pond, crafts some milk, picks up the tavern, and then visits the quarry. I visit the woods to earn 2 gold, build the stables, move my donkey up from there to the market, visit the farm, and lastly create some wheat. Botric connects the pond with a road, visits the quarry, builds the shrine, and then picks up the mountain range. I move my donkeys around to give me a path to get up by the stables, and then I build the farrier. I visit the farm, craft some bricks, and then lastly visit the quarry, which means I've got 10 gold to end it next turn. Botric in his penultimate turn builds a bridge to his shrine, crafts some planks, builds the large woodland, and lastly refills wood at their woodcutter. In my last turn I of course complete the church with 10 gold. I then craft some flour, get 2 victory points at the barn, and lastly build a bridge to the trading post. So this is what the final village looks like as we enter endgame scoring. Botric built a path to his woods, crafted some planks, picked up the barn, and lastly went to the woodcutter. With our scores looking like this before we enter endgame. I'm on 58, they are on 67. But after endgame scoring we end up losing as we get 86 and the bot gets 93. Was there anything we could have done better? I don't think so, as the random luck of the draw bag meant we were waiting around ages for that milk to show up in the blueprints, and it really halted our momentum as we were waiting for ages for them to build the sodding thing in the town, and we lost out. And in the end game, due to the lack of monument building on our side, as once they got 4 workers they just made points like crazy, and if you lose momentum to this bot it just ruins you. But there's no you can do, just the luck of the game. Let's get on to my review. So, I feel I've played it enough to share my thoughts, and this game unfortunately is about as average as you can get. It's just nothing special unfortunately, but for me, it's better than that sodding boring Dorf Romantic, that's for sure, as at least you're actually building a village and you have something to achieve points-wise going against Botric, so it's more of an actual game, but there's nothing here which makes it either special or unique outside of the tile shapes for the village construction. It's a bit of a bog-standard worker placement game where you try to maximise your production of resources and points, and that's it. Yes, the donkeys are a great little touch as you have to work out a train to move bits around the board, and I like the uniqueness of every building on offer, even though most of them really add out to the game overall, along with the sharing of resources. That means you're always racing to be the first to either create or use them to get gold or points. But this game is about as shallow as a kid's paddling pool from Home Bargains. You have just 1 worker and donkey to start every game, and so you basically do the exact same repetitive actions over and over again until you've got 3 workers in play. Only then does the game open up a bit, but by that point you're near sodding endgame anyway, and when you get your 4th, you're only a couple turns away realistically, unless you really drag it out against the bot, which, my god, you do not want to do, as it will sodding thrash you then. So there's just no great about doing the same stuff over and over again and expecting things to change. Nah, you make enough gold to get your 2nd meeple, then one of you makes the first 4 unique buildings, then you try to get your endgame points via the road network and flag locations after your 3rd meeple, and that's the game. Most points wins, and there's just no tactical here until that late game point where one decision to end it early or carry on can end up costing you the sodding game. And after my 6 plays, I already feel like I've experienced everything this game has to offer, and it's just not that enlightening. All you have to do is count up your potential endgame points and see if you need to carry on or not. Hoping the sodding bot don't destroy you if you do, and so it's just disappointing. Yes, I like the graphics on the tiles. The European medieval style buildings make for some great looking artwork. I also like the printed meeples on donkeys, but this board becomes so cluttered and looks an absolute sodding mess when you've got multiple tiles all placed next to each other in all the weird shapes and combinations you can get. And even as a partially blind bloke, I do see the complaints it receives about the small tokens or board symbols, because after your first game you easily understand what receives and creates what, and so you don't really need all the info that much. The only thing you'll need to see is the market offerings, but again, that's easy enough to do. I do, though, see an issue with a fully clogged board of donkeys, paths, meeples of all colours sodding blended into each other. Then you're messing up a chain of events with resources that you perhaps shouldn't have been able to achieve. And that can be a huge problem late game especially, but that can be mitigated by you just placing your meeples and then removing them at the end of your turn. And also the uniqueness of the tiles ends up creating a disappointing mess of a board shape-wise, as you can't end up placing them upside down or on the side, trying to connect them up legally via roads especially. Part of me feels like the buildings outside of the starter ones shouldn't have had roads on them, as then you would actually be more strategic with placements and building more roads and bridges, since you're building a village from scratch. So here you just end up fumbling around with placement for too long, I feel, and it looks a bit of a soddy mess late game with everything laid out on top of it, and all those giant gaps in between certain tiles that look a mess because all you see is a sodding table you're playing on. Even when you start with the locations in different areas, you find that your first few building placements all end up being the exact blooming same, because that's how you maximise your points, and so your villages all end up looking the blooming exact same at the end of every sodding game with very little variation. It just might be anti-clockwise instead of clockwise like last time, especially as there's only so many useful tiles in that sodding bag that you realistically want. You learn fast that there's no point in building quite a few of them, and since you can't only have 3 in hand, you just place them to get better ones later on or ignore them, and that's a problem. As I said earlier, the game is just too shallow depth-wise, along with buildings being pulled from a bag and then that bag getting filled up with rubbish you don't need, ending up like this playthrough where the game stalls in the bot's favour cause the randomness of the blueprint bag pulls dictated that none of us could sodding get any meltdown on the board early. So the bot had a massive advantage in terms of delaying the game, and with the bot just making points basically every round because it don't get gold, it gives you the impossible task of sodding catching up, something you just could do if you're held back with very little options. But if it does get down early, and all 4 upgraded resources are on the board within the first couple turns, you get the problem of being able to easily manipulate Botric, so the internal balance just ain't right on this one from a solo-only perspective. See, Botric can be easily controlled when you learn how much he needs and what he's going to do in his next activation steps from main actions, so long as you keep track of his money, the resources on offer, and market deliveries. You really should be able to beat him every time so long as he don't stall it out. I've lost twice at my 6 plays, this was one of them, and every time it was down to factors out of my control and Botric unintentionally delaying the game, or the randomness of the bag delaying it with upgraded buildings, because he just don't react to what you're doing or what's going on the board. Yes, he has 3 main actions he will always try to do, but then it's a random one of 5 choices every round, tiles which end up becoming a bit of a ball ache, recycling them back and forth, and it tries to give the illusion of knowing what it's doing, but you'll quickly realise it's just random crap once again that the human player will never do in this situation. Meaning, this is yet another David Terzi solo bot that I've actually been deeply disappointed with, as they can be manipulated pretty early and easily, so long as you can actually play the sodding game and not be bogged down by the bot stalling it out. I get the bot crafting is hard, but I've played some fan-made ones for some games where it at least pretends to be reacting to your mistakes, and don't break the illusion. Here after 6 games when the sodding bot can only win by stalling out the game unintentionally, it just makes me not want to ever play it again, because it's boring playing with a shattered illusion. An illusion is something you desperately need when sodding playing a bot. And so that's where I am with this one. I feel like I've had my fun and it's time to flog it on. There's nat here that makes me want to play it again, let alone give it a coveted position on my collect shelf that's full to the brim of better games I actually want to play. So I, like most people, really recommend this, and it's disappointingly average. The only thing going for it is the quick playtime and the fact that it's probably the best village building game out there, but that's a small market, I'm afraid. It's a game that's best played with 3 people, probably. Solo only is not where this one's at, with me being glad I only paid 30 quid for it. So I should easily make my money back, and that's my best takeaway from this. Try it out on TTS if you're curious, or look for a cheap second-hand copy. Either way, thanks for watching.